Under the orders of Vede d'Alba were two geographical engineers, both of moderate celebrity, Duvivier and Lameau, who after 1814 resumed their rank of captains in the corps from which they came. In 1813, he had as deputy chief of the office only a former officer of the staff of the emperor, Attalin, who afterwards was aide-de-camp to the Duke of Orleans, lieutenant general, and pure France. The library had apparently two librarians, but one of them was there only for the honor and the salary. The emperor never asked for any service from him. He appointed the Abbé Denina of Turin his librarian because Denina had filled this post, or rather had had this title under Frederic II. Thought of the King of Prussia took possession of the emperor's mind, the study which he made of his campaign since his youth, and which he resumed to St. Helena, the style of dress which he had taken from him, the statuette of Frederic, the only ornament of his study, the veneration in which he held the trophies carried off from Berlin, the visit to his tomb, all these, even to the choice of Denina as librarian, show his admiration for him whom he called the tactician par excellence. The other librarian during the whole of the consulate and down to September 9th, 1807, was Ripault. Ripault was a man of great worth who had accompanied Bonaparte in Egypt. It was he who formed the libraries of Tuileries, of Laeken, of Malmaison, of Saint-Cloud, of Fontainebleau, of Rambouillet, and little libraries of the study and all the residences. Besides this duty from the year 11, he was charged with the analysis of all journals which were not political, of all books, pamphlets, plays, bills, placards, which appeared during the 10 years, with a report of literary and religious assemblies, and of any law proceedings which attracted attention. He was a supplier of information to Bonaparte, who wished by means of his report alone to know everything that passed in the world of letters and elsewhere. Ripault, worn out, retired in 1807. His successor, much better known man, was Barbier, the celebrated bibliographer, who combined with the functions of librarian to the emperor those of librarian to the council of state. With Barbier, Napoleon could be easy. There was not a book with which he was not acquainted, and which he could not procure, not a question which he left without an answer, not a scheme of forming a library wherever it might be and for whatever purpose which he hesitated to undertake. If Napoleon wanted to form his portable library, start a library for the Enfants de France, make a collection of the classics of which a few copies only were printed, if he wanted to do novels or ancient works, everything which had appeared on any question, everything which had been printed throughout the world on a particular country, the answer was ready, very precise, very clear, very complete, with an estimate of the cost, if required, with maps, if maps are necessary, and side by side with the work of the library. Barbier was also fitted for other occupations, especially in all that concerned the university and the Catholic Church, for he had been in orders, and although he had divested himself of the priesthood at the Revolution, he nonetheless remained Catholic in his own way, in the way in which France of a former time was Catholic. From the king to the last of the secular clergy, he held that outside the Gallican doctrine summed up in the four propositions, there could be neither security for the state nor guarantee for the church, which would soon be given over in consequence of ultra-mundane exaggerations to the practice of a devotion which was almost idolatry. Against these practices and those who propagated them, Barbier did not cease to be filled with indignation, and his views on all these points so closely coincided with those of the emperor that he became an excellent auxiliary to him. One of the most valuable suppliers of arguments whom Napoleon ever came across, Barbier succeeded in giving a special character to this cabinet, which was at once the most restricted in the number of employed and the most complete in the choice of the persons of which it was composed. Everyone in it had his own specialty, and Napoleon spared nothing to furnish each with the tools necessary for his department. As to maps, he bought all the collections which were brought under his notice, even plans in relief, as the one of Switzerland by General Pfeiffer, which was not to be had without paying a good price, and in the same way he paid liberally for the plans of his old campaigns for keeping up to date the maps of the states to which war might take him, or for such traces that could be found in the successive itineraries which conquerors had followed in invading this or that country. He shrank from no expenditure when the utility of it was proved to him, but no luxury in the maps which were engraved by his orders, except in the Atlas of the Campaigns of Italy. There were no more of those fine title pages in which the designer had full scope and placed the agreeable and charming side of art side by side with technical work. Thus, the map of the hunting grounds, which he had completed and corrected, has only a simple and commonplace title: The Grand Voyages of Discovery, such as that of Monsieur Fressinet to southern lands, for example, the publication of which he paid for, have atlases entirely geographical, in which nothing is done to please the taste. The maps which he used himself were mounted on strong and thick linen, enclosed in cardboard cases covered with sheepskin of ordinary character.